Alright, blue NEMESIS CHEVELLE. We're on the twin turbo build with the 454. The big boost build that we're doing. Blue NEMESIS. Here's the motor. We got vanilla forged pistons with a single valve release. We got forged H-beam rods. We got the scat crank new. We got new bearings, the whole nine. We got the Thumpr Cam. Still running the Thumpr Cam for right now. It's going to be able to make good amount of power with the boost regardless. I'll change it when that need arises. We got aluminum at race world heads. They're 115cc combustion chamber. Their intake running volume is 320cc. Their rec port, D port exhaust don't really matter. You got bronze guides, and we have 2.25 inch intake valve diameters, and we got 1.880,000 exhaust diameter. The springs, let's pop this off. The springs are rated to 650 lift, 300 seat pressure. With the roller rockers, we already went over that. We're gonna go over really quick some important steps. If you're putting a high lift cam in, you want to make sure you do a valve to piston clearance check. The way I do it is I take a piece of clay, stick it on the bottom of the valves, put the cylinder head all the way together, do a mock-up, install everything, and then rotate the engine a couple times, and then take it apart, and I check the thickness of the clay, and that'll give you your clearances, just to make sure there's no interference. And really, you only really need to do that with high lift cams, but it's always safe practice just to check it anyways. Another thing we're going to go over is the torque sequence on your heads. Big block, small block. It's pretty much the same sequence. The only difference is the way they're numbered. And if you look Google search it, they're going to find different patterns and different number. The way I do it, you can see it down there. I start number right here, or 1, and I go in a spiral, like motion like this, coming back up, and go outer all the way around. I do my torque sequence. I do like 75 foot-pounds, but you do it in increments. So let's say 30 or 45. You cut it in, and then you just going all the way up to 75. But I do it, when I do it, I start and I do it probably like 3 separate increments all the way around the spiral. Continue to spiral all the way around. Then you go over here to your valves. When you're doing your valve lash adjustment, best way to do it, I found a guy on YouTube, which I learned. If I can pull it up, I'll post the link, but I pretty much took this and ran with it. The way he does it is with new lifters with no oil in them, but you could do the same process with lifters that have oil, or lifters that are pre-soak or whatever. But instead of taking the valve cover off and going and putting everyone at top dead center and following the firing order, you just go ahead, tighten them all up to where they're snug and there's no play. Go around, tighten them all up, tighten them all down so where there's no play. Rotate the engine 1/4 turn. Some of them are going to come loose, and then you just retighten them, check them all, go around again, or tighten it another 1/4 until you do 2 complete revolutions. Or I would do like a revolution and a half, and then you just go around, check them all, just making them all snug, and do a 1/2 turn just to give you your preload. And then on these, you come back and you just lock them in place with the Allen key adjustment in the center. Alright. Other than that, this bad boy is ready for the intake. But we're doing an intake upgrade as well. Right there we got our dual plane intake, which we're not putting back on. We're gonna go with a single plane. Go over that real quick. This intake right here is from 2,500 RPMs to 6,500 RPMs. Really good intake. Freaking bottom end torque, mid-range power, all the way up to the top. It's a really good intake. There's no, if you're gonna be making a street car, you should just keep this dual plane high rise intake and make sure it has this cutout right here that helps with the bottom end. This is a really good intake for somewhere in the comfortable car that's street driven and you want to do a little bit of racing. We're going with a high rise intake single plane for mainly one reason. Well, there's two reasons. Alright, the first reason that's not such a big deal is the bigger displacement that I have with these heads and the bigger motor, and my stall converter is 3,800 stall, meaning that I'm gonna be launching almost at $4 grand anyways. So that torque I'm not really gonna see no bottom end torque with that. You're gonna feel it a little bit with like a little bit of driving here and there, but you're not really gonna see it. And I'm gonna be using this for strictly race. So I'm gonna be starting out pretty much getting right into $4 grand and then climbing from there really quickly. On top of that, with the high rise, you get higher horsepower out of them, even though sometimes the gains are minimum. But when you maximize the airflow, your gains can be huge. But for starting out for like basic engines and stuff like that, the gains are really minimum for a single plane versus a dual plane, especially if you're going to be running low RPMs most of the time and you don't have a stall converter, you don't have a big high lift cam, you don't have all these other adders, then it's not really worth it. It's always better to stick with the dual. Now the first or the second reason that's very important, and the reason why I'm switching to a single plane, is since I'm doing twin turbo, there's been issues with dual planes where some cylinders will lean out because the two different routes that the air and fuel mixture takes. This one is pretty good. I had a small black once that was twin turbo and it would lean out on a cylinder. The design was similar, but it wasn't the same as this one, how it feeds it. And a lot of Fords do it. They'll lean out on one cylinder and run hot. And easy way to tell that, if you're have that happen, if you have your exhaust on, you can see a pipe light up cherry red really quick first, then you know that it's leaning out. The best way to do it, obviously with sensors, and that's easy. But if you use a wideband and you only got to tap into one section of the exhaust, you're not gonna really be able to tell. So with the open plenum and the single plane, everything mixes in the center. When that boost and the extra fuel and everything hits, it's all from the center and it all distributes more evenly, and they're shorter runners on, and it's more evenly distributed. You have less chance of running one hot. That's just like a safety factor. Plus with the twin turbos, you know I'm going for high horsepower. I'm going for high airflow, max airflow, nothing in the middle. So the game plan is to get this bad boy back into the car today. The intake should be here Monday or Tuesday. We'll mount it back up, fire it up, and then we're off to the dyno.